Hey there, this is Felix from Goldammer Vintage Watches. Mido is part of the Swiss watch group and their watches are sold by 2,400 official dealers in over 50 countries. But unfortunately, a lot of people just overlook Mido watches. With today's video, we want to show some love to a brand which was a staple maker of solid, affordable, but always well-constructed wristwatches. The brand has introduced several product innovations during its more than 100 years history, including trending designs. But to be serious, with all the great Swiss watch brands to choose from, Mido often gets pushed behind for the more popular choices. However, the company goes beyond its name when it comes to producing amazing watches. As you can clearly see it on our today's piece, a classic dress watch made by them in the 1960s. It features a huge 37mm 14K yellow gold case with thin and simple angled lugs and a dial that we have never seen before with so many detail that it is hard to list them all. The brand is responsible for many watches that aren't only modern classics, but also worthy investments. In today's video, we will guide you through the company's history, which deserves definitely more attention, and tell you what we particularly like about the design of our today's watch. So enough intro, let's jump into it. Founded by Georges Scheren, an experienced and ingenious Swiss watchmaker, Mido joined the market in 1918. Although it's a Swiss brand, its name comes from the Spanish phrase Yo mido, meaning I measure. And this name alone usually set the tone for what the brand is all about. Time. The company was launched as a brand with high hopes of becoming an innovative brand. The start of the company's catalog is in the 1920s. Mido introduced extremely elegant ladies' watches with collar-enameled shaped cases and modern straps, as well as timepieces for gentlemen in Art Deco style. The next milestone in the company's history was set in the 1930s. Mido found a market in the flourishing automotive market by producing so-called car watches in the shape of radiator grills of a wide range of brands such as Bugatti, Rolls-Royce, Chrysler, Fiat, Ford, Alfa Romeo, and so on. For example, the Mido watch, owned by the founder of Bugatti, Ettore Bugatti himself, fetched last year at an auction around 270,000 euros. These auction results give Mido a new lure and foster brand image and historical pedigree like never before. In 1934, the launch of the MULTIFORT line marked another milestone in the history of Mido watches. It is until nowadays their probably most famous vintage piece, and it was their first watch to use a self-winding automatic movement. It was shock resistant, anti-magnetic and water resistant. And in that same year, Mido launched watches with unbreakable mainsprings. The MULTIFORT was the best-selling Mido watch from the 1930s to the 1950s. Also interesting to know, during this time period, Mido used a robot as its ambassador as a symbol of progress and robustness. The so-called Roby is still a well-known feature today in many markets. In 1943 followed the production of the first chronograph, which by means of a totalizer displayed the time measured using an indicator in the center of the watch, the legendary MULTICENTERCHRONO. Traditionally, chronographs would have a subdial to provide as minute counter, but in the case of this Mido, it came with a central minutes totalizer, meaning that the fourth hand you see on the dial actually counts the minutes when the chronograph is running. In 1954, the first self-winding movement with a rotor made its debut. This winding system increased running reserve and reliability by reducing the watch components from 17 to 7 pieces. Important to note that, like all other vintage Mido movements, it was not a real Mido movement at all, but a raw movement from AS made exclusively for Mido. The caliber 917, which is called Powerwind, has a very efficient double-sided rotor which was able to provide the movement with a lot of power reserve even when worn for a short time. The rest of the movement is a 17 joule movement with an indirect center second and date, which were standard for the time, but without any quick adjustment. And our today's piece features a successor, the Mido Caliber 917 PC Automatic. It has 15 joules, 18,000 beats per hour and 44 hours power reserve. Nowadays, Mido is recognized as one of the top 10 producers of certified chronometers. With around 60,000 automatic movements produced in 2013, Mido is currently ranked number 4 in the production of chronometers in the Swiss watch industry. The company released its Ocean and Commander line, Ocean Star and Commander line in 1959. It marked the introduction of the revolutionary single shell case, also known as monocoque case, eliminating any water resistance problems from the back of the watch case. The combination of this technology with the in 1970 introduced Aquadura crown sealing system makes Mido watches withstand even the most difficult conditions. This crown sealing system, which makes the use of an all-natural cork, is handled and formed to ensure its water-resistant qualities. This technique is used to seal the crown, which is the most susceptible place on a watch to water leakage. Of course, many other exciting models followed after the 1960s, like the Bodyguard and World Timer and so on, but today we want to stick with the vintage pieces. Mido is a brand taking inspiration from architecture. Both collections try to mimic the sleek and minimalistic lines found on buildings, bridges, etc., as exemplified by their advertising campaigns. Although not all models are inspired by architecture, but the brand has architectural influences at the core of their watch design. We think the Mido brand offers a lot of quality at a price point, in case of both vintage and modern pieces. We hope we were able to influence a little bit your view on the company with this video. So have a great day and hope to see you in our next video.